Hey, welcome back. When we calculated the money that we spent on ads over the last 6 months, honestly, I almost fell off my chair, realizing how dependent we've been on Zach to essentially be nice to our business has been just crazy. And I bet that's why you are here, because you're looking for ways how to get those consistent and predictable sales for your store without having to spend all of that money on ads. And that's what we're going to talk about, and specifically how to essentially double your revenue without having to increase your spend, and how to do this with this one online marketing strategy. So you might be wondering who I am. Hi, my name is Silvia and I'm one of the co-founders of the Traffic Ninjas. Together with my husband and I, we founded this business to help e-commerce stores just like you get those consistent, predictable sales using untapped strategies that are specifically designed for small businesses. So if you're new to us, new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notification so that you don't miss out. And also I'm going to give you the common courtesy of putting the timestamps below so that you can fast forward and come back and do with this information what you like, but most importantly, so that this information helps you grow your online store. Guys, and just like you, I've been on this journey for a while and been really exploring how to double my business without essentially having to increase my costs. And the first way how we essentially tried scaling was through ads. How many of you have tried scaling through ads? Do let me know, do comment below, because for us, at the beginning we were spending money on ads and things were working fine. And then we started to slightly increase the budget and increase the budget and increase the budget, only to realize that the results were being less predictable and less predictable and less predictable until a point where essentially the algorithm crashed and stopped working. And for those of you guys who have gone through the iOS 14 changes in Facebook, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so we terribly failed, and to make it even worse, we even got banned from Facebook, honestly banned. And we're like, we're not doing anything wrong, how come we got banned? The worst part was that our ads were still running, so we couldn't even shut them off, right? So we were running these ads and essentially we're not getting anything in return. So we're like, okay, how about we try to double our revenue by increasing different types of products, by creating new products, right? And we thought that it was a great idea. But essentially what we realized was that once we started to create all of these different products, then our money was suddenly tied up in the product development, right? So, cash flow was really tied. Money was always tied in inventory. And then by the point you realize that you then have to market all of these products, and then you have a little bit of everything, which essentially didn't really lead us to the result we were after. So I do have to say that strategy to try scaling through developing new products, we really failed at that too. Now, the third thing was like, okay, how about we try scaling through different product lines? Over the years, I've also observed so many e-commerce store owners do this, like so many e-commerce store owners go and set up a coffee shop or just a completely different business line, thinking that that business line is going to complement the other one. But then suddenly you don't have just different products, you don't just have different inventory, but you suddenly have two different sets of books, two different marketing strategies. And we were trying that too, until the point when I honestly thought, you know what, I cannot do this anymore. It was completely unsustainable. And it was at that point that both Kristen and I got together and we were like, okay, this is the last attempt. The little money that we had left, we put it all together and we started to essentially map out what is it that over the years worked really, really well and what it is that just didn't go well at all. And when we mapped it all out and looked and stepped back and really looked at it, that's when it really hit us, by the attempt, in the attempt to scale and double our online revenue, we realized that we essentially failed to keep the main thing. And then what I mean by the main thing is that the ability to essentially sell your core product over and over and over and over. And that's when we realized that essentially to be able to double revenue without increasing cost base, we've got to find a way how to essentially start scaling not all kinds of products and not all kinds of businesses, but really start focusing on the core product and how to drive revenue for that over and over and over and over. And by doing that, we essentially discovered 3 secrets that helped us and will help you scale your store profitably and essentially double your revenue without increasing cost base. And the first secret was all about like how to grow your business profitably without essentially burning through the cash flow. Very, very, very important. Second secret, how we essentially discovered a way how your VA can ethically steal $1 million of your competitors, no kidding, in like less than 30 minutes, even if they're new to marketing. And the third secret that we discovered throughout this path was how to tap into the well of hungry buyers who are already out there without essentially having to create any new product lines. So let's talk about the secret number one, how to grow your business profitably without essentially burning through your cash flow. What we realized on this path was that we essentially applied the wrong principles to our business. Like, how many of you guys have heard of the Pareto principle, right? So many you guys have heard of the Pareto principle. Essentially, Pareto was an economist, French economist living in Italy, or the other way around, doesn't matter. And one day he was in his garden and he was essentially looking at the peas and the pea pods. And what he realized was that essentially 20% of pea pods were responsible for 80% of the peas and vice versa, right? And he started to apply this principle to everything else he saw out there. And he also realized that in Italy, that was true for land as well, right? That 20% of the people were holding 80% of the land. And the same is true in business. Typically, 20% of your efforts will be responsible for 80% of your results, and typically 20% of your customers will be responsible for 80% of the revenue. However, we had it all backwards because we were focusing 80% of all of our efforts on the hard things, on the things like the ads, the agencies, the new products, the revenue streams, really things that were very complicated and difficult and things that we couldn't really influence. So it was kind of like pushing uphill if you think about that. And we were busier than ever before, we were less profitable than ever before, we had more bills, and of course cash was tighter than ever before. And so at this point where we were almost done with business, I had to take a couple of weeks off because I was just completely burnt out, and I laid back and all I did was like just bake cookies for 2 weeks. Anyway, everybody deals with exhaustion in a different way. This is my way. Whenever I'm exhausted, I just bake cookies. If you've ever went through a burnout or being completely exhausted, do let me know what you do to go through that. And when I essentially returned back to work, just slowly, I was just thinking, okay, how about I just start doing some things in the business that are easy and that I can control, so that for myself, I feel like, okay, I've accomplished something today and that it's going to be a win. And I started with few simple things on the website, like updating FAQs, like nothing really drastic, like just updating a few things here and there. And then in few days time, literally without trying, we get a sale. And we're like, hey, what is this? So I picked up the phone and I worked up the courage to call the customer. And I was like, hey, like, where did you find us? And she was like, well, I just searched in Google. And I was like, what did you search for? And she told me exactly what she searched for. And guess what? Those were the exact words that I updated on the FAQ page. Like, no kidding, the exact words. And it did not take like years. It did not take months. It took literally a few days. And I was like, oh my God, like we are onto something here. What is this, right? Because that was the first sale, but it wasn't the last one. Then we got another one and another one and another one and another one. And that's how essentially we uncovered this framework that we now call the micro-organic yes framework, that essentially has just got 4 simple steps. And it's really simple. It really goes for the untapped stuff, but mainly it focuses on what you can control in your store, in your business, which then gives you the ability to really control how you double your revenue without increasing your costs. And some of you are like, okay, Silvia, but you updated the FAQ page, so is this SEO? Well, it sounds kind of like SEO, but it's not, okay? The reason why it's not SEO is because it really goes for the untapped micro-organic traffic. So when you think about SEO, it's really very highly competitive. It's too complicated. You typically need an agency and it takes like too long, and it can be a complete bloodbath. When you go for micro-organic untapped traffic, which is what we discovered throughout this process, you are going somewhere where big business does not play really, really important. You're doing something that's very simple with minimal effort, so you don't need an agency. You can do this yourself. It works fast and it gets sales. It's not just going to give you clicks or impressions, but it's really oriented to get sales. And as I said, there's only 4 steps to this micro-organic traffic system. and they're very simple to complete yourself. The 4 steps are phrase mining, phrase modeling, phrase tracking, and phrase tweaking. Super simple. So let's talk about phrase mining. What is it and how you can do this for yourself in your business to double your online revenue? The really important thing for phrase mining is that it's something that's in your control, that it's easy, as I said, that it's untapped, and that it's got a 6-figure potential, and that it's a potential for immediate results. But some of you might be asking like, hey Silvia, but what is a phrase? Because it's called phrase mining. So what is a phrase? So essentially phrase is something that your ideal customer is typing into Google. So whatever that is, whether it's a red high heel shoes, or whether it's the new fancy iPhone, or whether it's a white kitchen chair. Whatever that is, phrase is whatever it is that your customer is typing into Google search bar. And phrase mining is essentially a process of finding what we call our ninja phrases, which is your untapped phrases that have a high purchasing intent, sizable volume, and low competition. Really important. But some of you might be like, hey, but how do I find this, Silvia? Like, how do I mine my phrases? How do I find these ninja phrases? So did you know that there are tools that you can use to find essentially your ninja phrases? So you can use tools like Google Search Console, you can use SimilarWeb, you can use Ask the Public, you can use Ahrefs, you can use SEMRush, you can use Moz, all of these different tools. The really important part is that you select your criteria, okay? Because something that I learned over the years is that fool with a tool is still a fool. So you want to really understand like, okay, what is my criteria to mine these phrases? Because you want to go for something that is completely untapped, very low competition, but really high transactional intent and has that sizable volume for you to be able to go after it and really get those results fast. All right, phrase modeling. So that's step number 2. We now mine our phrases. Now we're going for phrase modeling. So phrase modeling, for you to understand that, I really want you to understand the concept of modeling first. Like even Tony Robbins says that if you want to be successful, find somebody who has achieved the results you want and model what they do, and you'll achieve the same results. Now, why am I saying that? Because once upon a time, I had this shoe business and I really loved this shoe business. It was called Cosmo Shoes. And I worked, guys, really hard on being different. Why that is? Because that was like a passion project. These were handmade shoes from Argentina. Any shoe lovers here? If we have shoe lovers here, do comment below. I want to hear from you. So guys, these were like handmade shoes from Argentina. I absolutely loved them. They were made out of leather and made of like the highest quality materials in all different beautiful colors. And I just really worked hard on position myself on the market and be very different. So what that meant was that I was creating creative names for my collections and for my products. I was really ignoring what the industry was doing. And as a result, guys, nobody could find me because I thought I was being smart, putting all of this creativity in, but essentially that's one of the hardest things when it comes to getting traffic without paid ads, when it comes to converting visitors to sales. So I was not getting any sales outside of my ads, none, like zero, because of this mistake, because of really trying to be different. And as a result, like eventually I had to shut down the shop. So step number 3 to double your revenue without increasing your cost base is what we call phrase tracking. Again, you can use similar tools. You can use Google Search Console. And by the way, we've got another video on that if you want to dive deeper into this topic. You can use Google Search Console. You can use SEMRush. You can use any other tools out there to help you track your ninja phrases. Why you want to do that? Because you've done the phrase mining, you were really hard on that. You have done the phrase modeling process, so you essentially modeled others that are doing really well. But now you want to track that over time, because essentially think about this as a completely fluid process. So there could be that you've got other competitors popping up at any time. You could have new opportunities come up. You could have market essentially change. So as a result, we always want to be doing what we call phrase tracking to really ensure that whatever you modeled in step number 2 essentially will get you the result. So we want to always make sure that we're tracking, and that we see how we are moving to our desired results. Because last thing you want is set yourself a goal that now I'm getting like 0 sales without any ads, and in 3 months time I want to be getting like 100 a day. So the last thing you want to do is just track those sales, because if you just track those sales, then honestly you might end up being disappointed. What we want to do is kind of strip that backwards and start tracking it from, okay, first, am I moving anywhere with the positions in the results? If I'm moving anywhere with my ninja phrases, am I essentially getting more impressions and then getting more clicks, which of course will result to add to carts and will result to sales. But if you're just going to be tracking sales, then it's going to be very difficult to essentially be tweaking things along the way. Which brings me to point number 4. Essentially the step number 4 to make this formula work for you is what we call tweaking. Okay, so phrase modeling, phrase mining, then we talk about tracking, and we talk about tweaking. So tweaking is really important because sometimes we make a small tweak on the website that literally takes like 5 minutes, and you think you modeled the right competitor. Step number 2, modeling. You think you modeled the right competitor, and therefore you are expecting a certain result in 3 months time, or not 3 months time, 3 weeks time. But essentially what you might realize is that you slightly forgotten about a certain point. Okay, so what we do is we do the phrase tracking, step number 3, and then in step number 4 we essentially tweak it so that we can do it better and better and better and better. Because as you heard so many times, the famous quote, like, you can't manage what you don't measure. So we need to measure it so that we can manage it, and then we can improve it and make sure that you're going to be getting more hot traffic that is going to be converting to more sales. Now, it's really important to start thinking about this, of how this can completely turn around how essentially your business acquires new customers, because right now, most of you are paying to get clicks. So when you turn around that strategy, when you use the right strategy, guys, just start thinking about it like you don't pay to get clicks, but you get paid for every click, because these are hot customers who are ready. People do come to you. You don't have to chase anyone. And in fact, we've worked with businesses that have achieved some incredible results. Just to mention, for example, Shannon and Kendall, they were doing the phrase mining, and literally like within a couple of weeks, they managed to get to position 7. So first page of Google within literally just 2 weeks for a really huge ninja phrase. Now, why does it matter? You're like, okay, but position number 1 in Google results, like what does it matter? Like, let's guys like do a little bit of math together. Okay, so let's like do a little bit of numbers here. Like in this particular case, this ninja phrase was not just a simple phrase. It was a phrase that was searched for 30,000 times a month. Guys, 30,000 times a month. So if within 2 weeks, just by making a small tweak, phrase modeling, just by making a small tweak, Shannon and Kendall were able to be on page number 1. I just want you to guys to understand the potential, because if this is 30,000 hot searches per month, like even if you just get like a small percentage of that, you can get over 6,000 visitors to your store every single month. And these visitors are ready to buy, guys, ready to buy. So even if you just get an average conversion rate of 30%, which so many of you have higher conversion rates, even if you just get like an average order value, guys, we're talking about additional $10,000 to $20,000 every single month. Okay, so this is the potential of essentially following a simple process that's all about phrase mining, phrase modeling, tracking, and tweaking. And as I said, like Shannon and Kendall, like literally took one ninja phrase and a small update of whatever they already had on their website, and straight away within a couple of weeks they were on the first page of Google. So that's pretty neat if you ask me. So I want to hear from you guys. How did this change your thinking about how you can double your online revenue without increasing your cost base, without spending money on ads? I know so many of you guys are struggling. It does require for you to start thinking about a slightly different mindset, because we are not talking about SEO here. We are talking about micro organic untapped traffic. We're talking about an untapped way that is not crazy competitive like SEO, that it's not dominated by agencies and big brands, that is not just like getting you branding or exposure, but that essentially goes for gold, goes for sales, goes for transaction, okay? So it's really just 4 simple steps: phrase mining, phrase modeling, tracking, and tweaking. You see, it's possible. It's really easy to get to page number 1 in Google if you follow the right strategy, follow the right process. Those of you guys who are interested to dive deeper into this, we've got a whole masterclass on this, so make sure you register. There is a link below in the comments. And for the rest of you, do let me know how you like this. What did you learn out of this? If you want to learn more about untapped ways of how to get consistent and predictable sales for your store, then I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. And if you have not yet, make sure you subscribe and you give us a like, because a lot of work goes into these videos. So I can't wait to talk to you soon. Bye bye.